Hey y'all, it's Scarlett and I'm back with some more information for you. I am here to discuss Spina Bifida. What is it? What effects does it have on a person? And why I am 100% okay with being physically challenged and having Spina Bifida. So what's Spina Bifida? It's considered a neural tube defect that occurs very early in pregnancy. It means open spine. So basically, somewhere along the way, part of the spinal column is incomplete and the spinal cord is exposed. It can be exposed and still be internally in the back, or it can be on the outside of the back, which is like mine. I had the most severe form of spina bifida called a myelomeningocele. My body formed a protective sac around my spinal cord and protected it as much as possible while I was still in utero. I don't like to consider spina bifida a defect because I don't want to consider myself defective. I consider myself different. And I think that has been key to being fairly well adjusted. At the time that I was born, doctors did not perform a lot of ultrasounds. She had a different pregnancy with me than she had with my older sister, and she suspected that something was different, but he ignored her and he told her to go buy a girdle. Yeah. So when I was born, they were completely blindsided. I was a breech birth. I came out butt first, and I could not move my legs. My mom had a very difficult delivery. She almost died. And while she was staying at the hospital and they were taking care of her, I was sent to a neighboring hospital to a neurosurgeon who performed my first surgery. And my dad followed the ambulance over there. They told my parents that if I survived, I would never walk, and I may actually even have developmental delays mentally. And so the prognosis was not good. However, things turned out better than expected. They did my first surgery without anesthesia because they didn't think I could feel anything. Spoiler alert, I can feel a hell of a lot. So I had night terrors. My parents had to watch me scream in my sleep. Because guess what? When somebody performs major surgery on you without anesthesia, it hurts. Who knew, right? Okay, anyway, sorry, I'm being snarky. But it just kind of makes us mad how ignorant the medical field was at that point in time. I was put in an incubator. My parents were not allowed to hold me because I had to heal. And my mom got to hold me for the first time when she took me home on her birthday. Happy birthday! You have a kid who's some assembly required. Enjoy that. It's the gift that keeps on giving, right? So that happened, and my sister says that I screamed for the first 2 years of my life, but I had a lot of surgery and they were doing a lot of crazy stuff to me, so I really don't think that that's on me. Like, I don't really think anybody could blame me for that. Because of the spina bifida, my left hip socket was 3/4 of an inch higher than my right one, and my right foot was a club foot, is a club foot. My left foot was bent at the ankle so that it was parallel with my leg. The bottom of my right foot was facing the inside of my left ankle. And when they figured out I was going to walk, they decided to maybe do something about that. I credit my sister with helping me gain the desire to walk, because we actually have a picture of me lying on our living room floor. I was very young, and I was in a body cast, which means like it starts at your waist and goes all the way down your legs. I don't know what that was for. Nobody can remember. Like, it all runs together, and my childhood was traumatic for all of us, and we've largely blocked it out. So if I don't know something, I just don't know something. And I've asked my parents, but they don't know either. So I'm sorry. There are some mysteries that just won't ever be solved. But for whatever reason, I was in a body cast, lying on the living room floor, and my sister is sitting on my back just like having a snack, just chilling. And nobody seemed to have a problem with this. They took a picture instead of doing something about it. I guess I figured I needed to take things into my own hands and decided to do something about it myself. And this, resulted in me taking my first steps, walking. I started school at the age that everybody else started school at. I did not start in special ed. My principal wanted to put me in special ed, but my mom fought tooth and nail because the only special issue I had was that I was physically challenged. I learned just like everybody else. So there was really no need to put me in special ed. I was in a regular classroom and everything was fine. I was actually one of the better performing students. And this part is going to be hard because I'm not really sure how people are going to react to it. But I don't have bowel or bladder control. It is a part of the spina bifida. I had zero say in that. I did not choose not to have bowel or bladder control. I had to wear diapers when I started school. I was 5, still wearing diapers. Guess what? I wasn't potty trained. I have mentioned that I am here to improve things, to have a positive impact. And part of that positive impact that I'm hoping to have is normalization. Normalization is taking something that the majority of people would consider abnormal or not part of the mainstream and making it mainstream or attempting to make it more acceptable. I want to normalize disability. I want to normalize chronic illness. I want to normalize sexual assault survival. And I want to normalize healing from trauma. So that's part of why I'm here making this scary video, revealing very personal information about myself. I'm wearing my power color red to give myself some confidence. Most of the time, I'm 100% okay with how I am, with the way my body functions, with being physically challenged, and with my life in general. But there are times when I do let it get to me that people look down on others who are different and consider them less. A lot of people want to feel sorry for me because I experience life differently, but I don't need your pity. I'm very blessed. There are some things that I've missed out on, but most of the time I don't feel bad and I don't regret or focus on what I don't have unless you throw it in my face or make me aware of it or make me feel like I should want it. This is the life that I've lived. I believe in God. You can believe in God or not. That's your business, but I do, so I will mention God occasionally. I believe in God, and I believe this is the life that God chose for me for whatever reason, and I'm living it. I don't really have another choice unless I want to commit suicide. And while that has been contemplated here and there, I've never wanted a different life, or I've never wanted to not live this life enough to do it. Not yet. So here I am. When I was 7 years old, I had a bladder made out of part of my colon. It's called a urinary diversion and an NEM pouch, if you want to look it up. And I catheterize myself through my belly button. It looks like a regular belly button, but it's not. It keeps going. And so I empty the bladder every so often, and it's much more control than I had when I was wearing diapers. So don't knock it till you have to try it. It's not in special ed. When I was in primary school, then I transferred schools to a private school that did not have a special ed program, and I was the physically challenged kid. That was hard because they did not know what to do with me. And the kids, they were not cruel, but they were not super kind either. And adult me can be a lot more forgiving than kid me. And I don't hold any ill will toward any of them. I do hold a little bit of ill will toward my 5th grade teacher, though, because she let the cat out of the bag about my lack of bowel and bladder control to my classmates. And 10-year-olds generally, at that time, were not capable of dealing with something like that. I think nowadays there has been more normalization since I was a kid. Kids that are in primary school can accept that, you know, their peers are gay. They can accept that their peers are physically challenged. They can accept that their peers are on the autism spectrum. So I'm really glad to see that. But at my point in time, when I was in school, my teacher pretty much guaranteed that I was a social leper for the rest of my school career. And now we know why I didn't date in high school. So there's that. I kind of feel like she should have known better. I think it's on us as adults to make good decisions and to think about how we may affect someone's life by revealing information about them that we've been entrusted with. I feel like that could have been handled so much better. I didn't have issues not having bowel control until I turned 16. I developed anxiety. I will elaborate on that because it ties into my relationship with my parents, and it ties into my autoimmune disease. A lot of things in my life are all tied together. One thing leads to another, to another, to another. I did not have a colostomy done until I was 23. And so that was a rough time. I was having to wear Depends, and I was having accidents, and it was bad. We really should have taken care of that sooner, but there are reasons why we didn't, and it happened the way it happened. But, and after I had the colostomy, it was a little bit of a nightmare. I had the surgery done so that I could have a little more control over my bowels, and because of my weight, and because I'd had a lot of surgery on my abdomen prior to that surgery, my stoma sunk in. And so I had to get specially molded bags, and the bags would come off, and now it's much better. I have to empty my bag when my bowels move. But I don't understand why people are so grossed out about that. We change babies' diapers all the time. That's normalized. That's socially acceptable. But if an adult has to basically do the equivalent of changing a diaper, emptying a colostomy bag, catheterizing, we seem to think that that's gross, and that baffles me. Yeah, I have to get up close and personal with my bodily excretions, but you get up close and personal probably with, you know, baby diapers. I don't get what the difference is. I can wash my hands. You wash your hands after you change a baby's diaper. What's gross? You know, I think it's all in your perception. So anyway, that's a big part of spina bifida for me, is the bowel and bladder control. Intimacy can be hard. That was a factor in my dating life, and it's been complicated. It still is complicated, but when you feel comfortable with your partner, you can make things work. I think that's pretty much all I have to say. It did take me 7.5 years to graduate with my bachelor's degree, but that was not solely due to spina bifida. That was partially due to spina bifida, partially due to autoimmune disease, partially due to just being me. Spina bifida has affected me. My life has been probably more complicated than most people's lives, but it hasn't been a bad life. It hasn't been the tragedy that most people would think that it is. And I think that's due largely to the fact that I was raised to believe that I'm a person. So I will catch you next time. I hope that you are well. Until then, bye.